Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Once again, I get jumped on about not starting exactly at 6 p.m. Eastern
I
Standard
was
Time.
even, we were ahead of the game, ready, and then no, you missed it.
It's still my clock says 6 o'clock, just because it's not. Just because
Six
I.
o'clock on the nose. We had a person waiting.
And now they're gone. They ran away. They said, "I'm not waiting for this."
They
Yeah,
said hooray, and then, oh,
a live stream that doesn't start exactly on time. I've never heard of such a thing.
no, Andrew, this is not Ask Away, this is Read Away. We're reading a book that I don't actually have to show you because I've got a digital copy of it now.
Well, I'll go. I'll click back to the title card for a second. It's this book, Andrew, Quicksand by Nella Larson.
Oh,
But yeah, this is the last read away, at least for a while.
thank goodness.
You have not enjoyed this book overly much, have you?
No, I haven't. And like y'all, I am such a quitter. I'm a quitter. When it comes to reading, I am pro quit. I am I'm not just supportive of quitting, but I am like actively, you know what? Because like my TBR is I have so many books and I literally like I legitimately teasingly um responded to uh, uh a reading account on Twitter, and I
Yeah.
said, please stop, or not stop, but I'm like, why are you tweeting so many books? Because like I can't keep up. I can't take
I
it.
I can't do this.
I said I'm doing my best, and my best just apparently is not enough.
I have to read all the books. Don't you understand?
Don't you understand? And people are like, well, if you live forever, you can read all the books. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way because they keep making more.
They keep making more. What you have to do is you have to assume that you'll live forever and that you will eventually outlive everybody else so that there will be no more books being made and then you can eventually catch up. That's what I'm thinking. Oh, Brandon, thank you very much for the super chat. Very generous of you. I appreciate you too, my friend. And hi to Meredith.
And Meredith.
Hi,
Hi.
yes, Brandon and Meredith. Absolutely.
All right,
Hope you
well,
guys are doing
let's
well.
kick it off by talking about how miserable Helga is.
Ah, yes.
Again.
So yeah, we are So when last we uh, when we left Helga, I should say,
Mhm.
she had decided to marry the preacher who had helped her out during her bad day, because
Who
Helga,
had like walked her home. That was it.
yeah, because Helga
That
had,
was
yeah,
it.
Helga had she had her final like big falling out with Robert Anderson, and then eventually she found herself
Which
outside.
ended up being her final one. I don't know
Yeah,
that she intended it to be her final one,
that's true.
but
That's true. She wound up outside in a terrible storm, and she took shelter in like a storefront church. And one of the people at the church, who happened to be the Reverend Mr. Pleasant Green, uh, helped her out and walked her home. And on the way home, she decided that she was going to marry this guy.
because reasons.
Yeah, it's implied that she's doing it out of spite to to Robert, but yeah, basically she just kind of up and decides to get married to this dude. And we find at the beginning of chapter 22 that that's exactly what she did. She got married.
Because he's going to be so sorry. I don't know. Did the eye roll come through? I just have it. I need to change it over to speaker view so I can see what actually shows
So
up
you
on
can
Zoom.
see, yeah. Okay, go.
Wait, I did. I would. Okay, so I have to talk first, and then I have to
There you go.
something
It
like
came through
that.
that time.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about Helga in general. Is just really, can we not? No, no. We
Yeah.
we have to. We have to do. Oh, we have to. But fortunately, we didn't have to for very long.
Indeed. And by the way, Andrew, yeah, if you want to do that and tell me which charity link you were trying to donate to, I'd be happy to do that for you. Um, and yeah, Jay, I kind of thought that too. It wasn't explicit, but I kind of got the impression that she was at least planning to boink the preacher that night. but I don't know if we're meant to believe she actually did or not. But I felt like, that was definitely
the
yeah.
allude it was alluded
It was
to.
alluded to. Yes, indeed. So yeah, she gets married. She moves down to Alabama, which is where he's not actually from Harlem, as it turns out. He lives and preaches in Alabama. So she and the Reverend Green get married and move down to his place in Alabama. And I love this. This was the line, and you can tell that the author is very much aware of, by this point, is aware of who Helga is and what her pattern has been, because after we're told about the marriage and the move down to Alabama and everything, it says of her new husband, it says, Helga did not hate him, the town, or the people. No, not for a long time. So it's the acknowledgement that, oh, she hates them all eventually, but it takes a while, right?
But also we have to think of it. What counts as a long time for Helga?
That's true. What was it, like a week?
2 pages.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, she moves down. She gets married. She moves down to this little town in Alabama, and at first she's just like, super excited about the possibility she's going to become a pillar of this community, and she's going to use her position as the pastor's wife to get involved in this church community, and she's going to teach the ladies how to dress better, and she's going to do, like organize.
Wait, I gotta talk.
She's going to teach the ladies how to dress better. She's going to organize programs for the kids. Like, she's going to just take control of this thing, right? Doesn't work out
because she knows exactly what she's doing.
Of course.
Ah!
Well, what happens is, shockingly, and I know nobody could have seen this coming, and especially nobody who has even a tiny inkling of understanding of human nature, but what happens is the women at this church just kind of do what you've been doing. They just sort of roll their eyes at her, like, she tries. She comes in.
No. They. Oh, I don't have a cup in here, but they're the whole. Or we'll pretend with the pen.
Exactly.
They sip the tea.
Exactly.
And then they side-eye her.
Yeah, they apparently, the narrator leads us to believe that they speak of it quite openly amongst themselves, but they're very polite to Helga while she's around. Nobody like talks shit to her face, but as soon as she leaves, they're kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. And suffice it to say.
And it's not even the, oh, she's trying, bless her little heart. It's the, okay, you're trying to make changes. You don't know anything.
Yeah, and changes that they don't really want. And also changes that most of them probably can't afford because they're poor people. And she's like, you should dress better. You should buy better clothes. And they're like, we all have like 20 kids. Where are we getting money to buy these nice church clothes that you're saying that we need? Even if we agreed with you that we wanted those clothes, where are we getting the money to buy these clothes? Right? She just seems really out of touch with the whole situation. Oh, okay. Thanks, Andrew. Is that the charity link for people living in poverty? So is that Give Directly, or is that another one? But yeah, I'm happy to pass it along.
Yeah, considering she's a Yankee, they're really nice to her.
That's
like
true.
She's a Yankee coming in, telling them their business.
She's a carpetbagger. She's a carpetbagger. But yeah, so,
I don't know if that really works.
No, because carpetbaggers were white, right?
Well, yeah, and so were the people who got carpet bagged. Like, it was a white thing. Oh, yeah, God, the white Southerners, they would not have put up with that from a black person.
That was...
In fact, let's be honest, there may have been instances of... oh, boy. Whew.
Yeah.
Gosh, there were instances of people who were thought to be, and that was just enough. Oh golly, yeah, not good.
Not a nice situation.
Moving along, because that's terrible.
Yeah, let's move on to terrible things that are actually in the book.
In the book, there's plenty of those too.
So she, even though things don't go her way
ever, because
eh,
she's never happy.
well, she's never well, but she is happy at first, even though her plans to sort of become like the leader of the church community and to change things around and to sort of enlighten these poor people about how to dress and how to act and whatever. Even though none of that really works for her, she does find or seem to find some contentment for a while. She enjoys being a
She's
housewife.
temporarily content, and
Yeah.
then she changes her mind again,
Where
like she always has.
have
Like,
we seen that before?
in this book, repeatedly.
in like every third chapter of this book. But it talks about how she starts a garden. She enjoys being, running the house. And she even takes some solace and some strength from her religion. Like she takes the finding God thing seriously. And seems to be sort of in that life for a while. Although there is still sort of like a nagging feeling, like it talks about how she gets nervous and emotional at night, and it says at the end of this chapter, it says, night came at the end of every day, emotional, palpitating, amorous. All that was living in her sprang like rank weeds at the tingling thought of night, with a vitality so strong that it devoured all shoots of reason. So not everything's perfect, but she seems to be doing, but like you said, it's the same pattern we've seen before, because Denmark was awesome until it wasn't too, and Harlem was awesome
until it wasn't.
Harlem was awesome until it wasn't.
I mean, even before the book starts, like you can figure out she's been at Naxos for a while.
Right.
Naxos was probably awesome until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't, sure.
255 AD. After this, we are taking a break from Readaway.
Yeah,
and I've told Steve has picked out a book, and I've told him he's got to read it first, and then decide if he actually wants us to read it for Readaway.
Right. So, but yeah, so it may be a little while until we do another one. It'll be at least, probably well into the new year before we do another one. But
not only that, but like,
and you
we got Christmas and New Year's coming up pretty quick.
Yeah,
so.
Christmas, and plus, I know you just, you want a break from this, and
I'm just like, can we just make sure that you actually really like the next book and you really have stuff that you want to discuss about? Because you ended this one cold, and I'm just like, fine, Steve.
I will say,
I've been counting down since at least halfway, maybe before.
We can talk about this a little bit more at the end, but I do think I definitely enjoyed the book more than you did.
That's not.
I don't think that's saying a whole lot. Yeah, you see, your feelings toward the book and toward Helga as a character specifically have not been exactly kept secret. But yeah,
if it could have just been a short story, like it's just so self-indulgently repetitive.
Yeah. So in the next,
I think
in the next, go ahead.
The darlings needed to be murdered.
You know what I love about that? It's not even that long of a book, really.
I know, and she still manages to be repetitive.
So in the next chapter, we have moved ahead at least, I guess, probably almost 2 years. I think it says at one point. It says 20 months is the space of time in which her kids are born. She has kids. Helga has kids. Helga's a mom.
God help them.
She has twin boys, and then pretty much right after that, she gets pregnant again and gives birth to a girl. So when we pick up with her in this chapter, she has 3 kids.
Exactly. Cardassian literature. They're the bad guys.
Yes.
I remember that much.
The repetitive epic. There's a great, well, we haven't gotten there yet. I think it's one of the episodes that we're going to get to in this season that we're in, though, where Dr. Bashir and Garrick are talking about Cardassian literature, and Garrick has given Dr. Bashir a Cardassian novel to read, and Bashir is like, it was so repetitive. And Garrick is like, well, that was the point. The repetitive epic is one of the most beautiful forms in all of Cardassian literature. And it's meant to, reiterate the permanence of fascism. Isn't that nice? Anyway,
No,
but yeah, I mean,
it's not.
I was being sarcastic. Of course,
I
it's
was
not
agreeing
nice.
with
It's
you.
terrible. Oh, okay. So you were sincerely agreeing with my sarcastically made point.
Precisely, Steve. Exactly.
I like it. I like it. We're on the same wavelength, except I'm being sarcastic. Not about that though. It's confusing.
Please go
Anyway,
on.
so she has her kids, and the kids are just running her down. Like it talks about how she no longer has time to sort of look after herself. And she's basically she's tired all the time, even when she like goes out for walks or goes out on the town or goes out to run errands. Like she has to stop and like lean against trees, and she's exhausted. These kids are running her ragged. And whenever she asks, or whenever she brings it up to her husband, he always kind of just gives her like a religious platitude. He's sort of like, oh,
Oh, just trust in God.
yeah, God, yeah, the Lord will provide. Be grateful for what God gives us, that kind of thing. And she's just like, all right, whatever.
The Lord is giving me irritation with you.
Yeah, that's it. Eventually, yeah. And she turns to the other women as well for help, and they're no more help than her husband, because they basically just tell her, look, you just have to do it. Like this is they basically say, there's a woman named Sari who we hear the most from. Helga talks to Sari about this, and Sari says to her, just remember, we all get ours. We all get our rest by and by in the next world. We're all recompensed. Just put your trust in the Savior. So she's basically saying there's no way out of this until you die. You're a mother now. And because of the way the world works, and because there's no such thing as birth control, and our culture has encouraged us to have as many kids as possible, you're just stuck here. You're going to keep having kids until you can't have any more.
This choice that you made is it.
Yes. You
don't get out of this
There
one.
is no escape.
You've escaped,
Yeah.
the permanence of all the other choices that you've made.
Yeah.
This time, the choice that you've made that has negative consequences that you don't like, guess what? This is the one you get to keep. Ta-da!
There's no escape, and you're always going to be tired. That's the other thing. You're always you think you're exhausted? Get used to it. It's never going to end. This is your life now, forever. And that doesn't really help. That doesn't make her feel any better.
What? She doesn't feel better because of that?
Well,
gosh, golly darn.
Like, they don't even tell her, oh, like eventually you get used to it and you get back up to speed and you adjust and you're not exhausted all the time. They don't say that to her. They say, oh no, you're going to just be exhausted forever for the rest of your life. And there's nothing you can do about it. So,
so anyway.
Yeah, but in this, but also she turns to her faith. She turns to her religion, and she, in her mind, just gives it to God. Because everybody keeps telling her that. Her husband keeps saying, no, give it to God and trust in the Lord. And all the women in the church tell her the same thing. Just, trust in the Lord. So she's like, all right. And she just kind of mentally just no longer assumes responsibility for it.
She's like, okay, God, take care of it.
Yeah. And also, and she's
amazingly.
She's also, she's pregnant with another child. So she has 3 kids already. She's pregnant with a 4th. And at the end of this chapter, it says, Helga didn't bother much about the preparations for the coming child. Actually, and metaphorically, she bowed her head before God, trusting in him to see her through. Secretly, she was glad that she had not to worry about herself or anything. It was a relief to be able to put the entire responsibility on someone else. And the someone else she's putting it on, just as a reminder, is God. So next chapter, we see how that works for her. Turns out God isn't such a great prenatal doctor. Because she delivers the baby, and it's a very difficult birth. And when it's over, she is like, and you described it earlier when we were talking off the air.
Like
You
postpartum. It
said it
seems like
sounds
it's
like
postpartum depression.
it sounds like postpartum depression, and like a really really bad case of it because
Not only, I mean, it's not like she can't bond with the baby. Like she can barely move. Like
she
she
can't
can
do
barely
anything.
open her eyes. She just like she's got nothing.
It sounds like she's almost like catatonic, like she's just laying in
Yeah.
bed doing nothing for weeks and weeks. Um, and she feels no attachment to the child. We're told midway through the chapter, we're told the child actually dies. The child only lives for like a week and then dies. And she's just like, if anything, she's grateful. She says one less person, because one of the things that she feels guilty about, and of course that was one of the reasons she cited to Robert Anderson, was that she didn't want to get married and have kids because she felt like it was wrong as a black person to bring more people into the world who are just going to suffer and be discriminated against and persecuted like already living black folks are. And she still, I mean, she loves her kids. We're told she loves her children, but she feels guilty for bringing people into
Bringing
the
them
world.
into a world where they'll suffer.
Yeah, bringing them into an unjust world where they're just going to suffer the same as everybody else. She feels bad about that. And so when her fourth child dies shortly after being born, she didn't feel a motherly attachment to him anyway. And she's just like, oh, well, that's probably for the best. One less person in the world to suffer.
But it's I mean, she doesn't feel, he's with God now. He's gone on to the next world. She doesn't feel like that's necessarily a good thing. It's more that sense of relief.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And they bring a nurse into the house to help take care of her, Miss Hartley. And she actually kind of likes Miss Hartley because Miss Hartley is very no nonsense, and Miss Hartley takes charge of everything. And
Miss Hartley takes care of things so that she doesn't have to.
That's true, but Miss Hartley takes care of things, and Miss Hartley is very sort of authoritative, and like you, and will even like basically it sounds like Miss Hartley is in charge of the house because even Helga's husband defers to Miss Hartley.
Yeah.
But yeah, Helga is basically bedridden and unresponsive for weeks. And but then eventually she kind of comes back to herself, but she still remains in bed. Like she's getting better, but she's not out of bed yet. And the nurse is still taking care of her. And there's a sequence here where it talks about how even after she sort of came out of the worst of her fugue state, whatever it was, she still likes to lay in bed and just kind of let her mind wander. And when that happens, she sees people from her past life. She kind of reviews the people that she's met in the novel, where she sees her mother as she remembers her from when she was a child. She sees Robert Anderson. And it says, Robert Anderson questioning, purposely detached, affecting as she realized now her life in a remarkably cruel degree. For at last she understood clearly how deeply, how passionately she must have loved him. And of course, now it's too late.
Oh yeah, but now that she's removed from him, now that he's not there, oh, I must have loved him.
That's true.
No, you didn't. You didn't. You're projecting. Again,
she always wants what she doesn't have right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what she has right now, like the discomfort, and she talks about this or thinks about this, the discomfort she has right now is worse because she has it now.
That's yes.
Like,
yeah.
No,
whatever it happens to be.
That's completely like, it doesn't make sense. Not only is it is unreasonable, but like it's like it's dissociated from reality, unreasonable.
Yeah.
Like, even when, like, there's, I don't know, like, I think we talked about this. When I broke my leg,
yeah.
when it was just broken, like, that wasn't the worst. At the time, it didn't seem like the worst pain ever. Like, even in that moment, I was just like, okay, I'm going to be all right. I can get better from this. It wasn't my dad, we're going to be okay. I mean, he's like, panic stricken because I'm his daughter and he right. He's my dad. But even then, like, it wasn't, I mean, now and I guess Helga, the novel doesn't take that long, like in her life, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm a good bit older than Helga is.
Oh
But
yeah.
even then, like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not, I guess maybe I'm just not the artistic sort. I don't have an artistic, I've got a flamboyant personality, but I don't have that artistic temperament of like, suffering and, oh, there must be something more. Maybe there is, but like I'm gonna enjoy what I got. Okay, I don't know.
Well, it's like we were talking earlier. You're not very pretentious, and and other than jokingly, you're not grandiose. You know, you're very practical and very sort of grounded, especially in the way you sort of approach life. I mean, you
Now,
know,
what do you mean when you say grandiose?
um, like like egotistical in a sort of big way. I mean, you do look. You are. I almost said, "Oh, you're definitely egotistical," but
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, I do. I have a very high opinion of myself.
you
Not
do.
wrongly, I think.
But you are also open to correction and sort of contrary opinions, and you are the other thing is you are sincerely interested in what other people think and
Yes.
feel and
Yes,
how they are
I'm not
affected.
self-centered in that particular
Yeah.
way.
It's not, yeah, you think very highly of yourself, and you should. I think highly of you too. But you're not not grandiose in like a narcissistic, psychopathic sort of way. You know what I mean?
So you don't think very highly of Helga either, do you?
I don't know if she,
Narcissist,
I don't know,
psychopathic.
I
Wow.
don't know if she's psychopathic, but she is. I mean, you said that you're not self-centered in that way. I think she is. Like she is a very
Yeah, it is. I mean, she doesn't seem to like, she understands intellectually that other people have feelings, but she never connects with anybody like emotionally. So, I mean,
yeah.
maybe she is a narcissistic psychopath. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah. Or she never
She needs she needs therapy and like serious psychiatric help, and she ain't getting it.
yeah. She never connects with another person in a way that endures, because we have seen her form really strong bonds with people, but they always fade. They fade with like when she and it's the same thing as how she feels about places. When she first arrives, she thinks everything is great. And she makes friends really easily, and she comes to really feel strongly about people. And then within a few weeks, months, years, however long it takes, she ends up hating everybody. Like so, she's unable to form lasting bonds with people.
Yeah.
She can form bonds with people, but
Are they bonds though?
well,
I
yeah,
mean, essentially, when the relationship needs to be sustained, she doesn't put any work into it. When it's novel, it has some inherent interest. But then
yeah,
after that, when the relationship could develop, if she's willing to do something to develop it, when it requires anything from her, no. Like, and it literally doesn't occur to her that that's the problem.
yeah, yeah. 205 AD asks, do I find it particularly difficult to empathize with characters going through religious turmoil because I'm an atheist? No, no. I mean, I feel like I don't just because I don't have religious beliefs myself. I mean, if I see a character or even another actual person who I sympathize with, or I have some connection to, or at the very least I don't have any reason to wish bad things on them. If it's just like an average person, you know, and I don't have any reason to wish ill on them, and I see them going through a hard time, I think I empathize with them regardless of what the source of it is. I mean, if someone is anguished, it doesn't matter whether the source of their anguish is something that would be a source of anguish for me or not. You know, you don't think so?
I think there are limits to that. If I think if someone's anguished at a loss of entitlement.
Well, yeah, but then, but
Yeah,
see, but then when I find that out, then it goes back to the first bit where, oh, now I have a reason to wish ill on them. It's like, oh, you entitled little
fair
shit.
enough. Fair enough.
You entitled little shit. I hope it hurts. You piece of shit. Fuck you. Um,
All right.
but anyway, yeah. So and one not only so when she has her fourth child and then he dies and then she comes out of her depression. Um, she has lost her religious faith as well. In addition to sort of like whatever pretense that she was holding on to about the positive things about her life here, like all of that is gone. She hates everything again, and she has completely gone off her religion.
Because I mean, this is something that makes sense because she's like, well, I left it all to God, and my kid died.
Yeah, my kid died. My life is a mess. And she no longer even believes in God. Like it's not like she's mad at God that he has forsaken her. Like she just comes to this realization, like, oh no, okay, I get it now. There's no God.
I shouldn't have left my kid to God because they wanted anybody there taking care of it.
Yeah. There's actually a really good passage here that I want to read talking about that. This is after her experience when she's sort of come back to herself, and it says in her was born angry bitterness and an enormous disgust. The cruel unrelieved suffering had beaten down her protective wall of artificial faith in the infinite wisdom, in the mercy of God. For had she not called in her agony on him, and he had not heard? Why? Because she knew now he wasn't there, didn't exist. Into that yawning gap of unspeakable brutality had gone too her belief in the miracle and wonder of life. Only scorn, resentment, and hate remained. And ridicule. Life wasn't a miracle, a wonder. It was, for Negroes at least, only a great disappointment. So, yeah, it's almost like, well, like when she wakes up, she really wakes up. Like she's back to her old self now. You know, only even more embittered and, you know, resentful.
Yeah, but yeah, it's more that this is to some degree you can feel the book drawing to a conclusion.
Yeah.
Because this is a change for her. There's no sense of, well, it must be better somewhere else. It's like, nope. This is it. They ain't anything. And I've been through a whole bunch of stuff, and it all turns to shit.
Everything sucks, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all there is. And all there is suck.
So we get to
now. I do want to answer. Andrew had a comment here.
Yes.
Now you say that this. Thank you for. I appreciate the comment about the video. Yes, I think I have an artistic eye, and I think I'm analytical and creative, but I don't have that sort of artistic temperament. I'm not sensitive.
You are not a Byronic hero. You're not.
I mean, I can
sensitive and turbulent.
It's fun to pretend and play at that because, oh my goodness, they're so over the top, so delightfully over the top. But no, I am like, you know, I am not. I am only a fainting. Oh no, I need people to do things for me when I just don't feel like doing it. Normally, I just like it's just easier to do it yourself. Like the whole broken leg thing and going, okay, it's 12 minutes to showtime and I need to get the laptop into the office and I need to make sure everything's plugged in and I need to get into the office and I'd like to have a drink. And I'm like, okay, with my busted leg, 12 minutes ain't enough time to do all that by myself. Dang it.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like, I know there are some people who, and maybe it's folks who have never been in that situation. And I mean, luckily I never have really been in that situation either, but like they say like, oh, it must be great to, you know, you can just have people wait on you hand and foot. You don't have to do anything. And it's like, I would hate that. Like, I'm completely on your side of it. Like I'm luckily I've never had a broken leg. I've never been like in a situation where I couldn't get around easily for an extended period of time where I had to rely on other people, because I've always wanted very, very much to do for myself, and I always have. Like, if I want something from another room and someone else is with me, like when I lived with other people, whether it was
Well, and
roommates or
it's like I
when I was
said,
married,
it's just easier.
and it's like there's no reason for me not to do it. Like, I can do it. There's no reason for me to impose on someone else. If I want something from the kitchen, I'll just get up and go to the kitchen and get it.
I guess, I mean, it's again, for me it's about the convenience. It's not just about doing it for myself. Because like
It's a
if we're
convenience
all
too.
in the living room watching TV and somebody else is in the kitchen getting a soda, I'll be like, hey, can I have one as well? Because they're there. And especially if I don't care, but like if I'm just like, okay, is there something on the desk? Do I need to tell them to move to where I want the laptop, and which plugs go where, and like explaining it so that I get what I want. It's just like, gosh, I wish I could just do it myself.
Just let me do it.
It would
Yeah.
be so much easier
Yeah.
than like explaining how something oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, on the other hand, like that's I guess maybe it's also because that's my job. Like not doing it for them is my
Right.
job.
Then
Like,
you're not supposed to
anytime I have
just do it for
explain
them.
this to a student and like, okay, take a breath. Da, 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 da. Then you do this, and then you do this. And I'm all like, wait, Miss Cole, you're going too fast. Okie dokie. And then some students they were fine with that. I'm like, it's half the reason that it's good to have the video. I made for my setting up a document in MLA style today. One of the things that I did during planning was I typed up not exactly a transcript of exactly what's said on the video, but like directions for it, outline format with, bullet or, numbers and letters and things. And I'm just like, so next semester, we're going to watch the video and I'm going to say, okay, go through this. I can go, hopefully by then I'll be walking. I'm going to walk around the room, look at what they're doing and say, if you get behind, jump ahead to where the video is. And then after we do it with the video, I can hand out the directions and say, okay, now go back through and check your steps. But oh my goodness. And I'm not going to hand out the printout ahead of time, because then they're looking at the printout or they're doing the video, not doing, and they get crossed between them. Ugh. No, but yeah, Andrew, that's not the same thing. Like I definitely engage. And I do care, but I don't know.
You're not sensitive in like a fragile ego kind of way.
Yeah, I guess. I would say I am passionate, not sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you are sensitive to other people and to other people's needs and emotions, and you're thoughtful in that way.
I would say in that case, I would say I am perceptive and understanding.
Okay. And also,
it's because
and also very precise.
I am. I'm really picky about that.
Yes.
I'm very careful to say as clearly as possible. Again, that's also a teacher thing. Don't you can't just say don't throw things, because then they'll say, well, I didn't throw it, I tossed it. I'm just like, so my classroom policy is no airborne objects.
Just cover all the bases.
How did it get into the air? Doesn't matter.
No.
It's like I avoid saying I don't care, but a lot of the time I really don't. I mean, it's not that I don't care about the situation. It's not that I don't empathize, but like how the situation, like they want there's apparently supposed to be an explanation of how things got to be the way they are, and they're why they are the way that they're not supposed to be. Does not, doesn't really matter. I do want to rephrase, because my big poster up in the front of the room says no excuses, just solutions.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to rephrase that, because it sounds really harsh, but essentially I want to get it like it doesn't matter what your excuse is. Like it really, you may have a valid reason, you may not. That's okay. I'm not gonna, the situation doesn't change. This is the problem.
Right.
Helga.
Focus on the situation and what we can do about it, not
exactly.
Yeah.
What can we do about it? Sometimes it's nothing except to offer, sympathy. And I can do that. But in many cases, there are options. There's always, and you know, it bothers me when I had no choice in a movie or a TV show.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, none of that. There's always a choice. Sometimes it's only choices between bad options, Helga, but there's always choices.
See, you would like, there's at least one moment in, I don't know, did you ever see Spider-Man 3?
Maybe I get them mixed up, Steve. I'm
the
sorry.
The one with Sandman and Venom as the two villains. Well, anyway, there's a scene.
Steve, it's been a long time, dude. We're old.
I know it has been.
And also, I don't remember things very well.
Well, anyway, and of course, I've got Spider-Man on the brain anyway. But there's a scene between Peter and Sandman near the end of that movie where Sandman says, because Sandman does a little bit of a babyface turn at the end of the movie, and he says, you know, I didn't choose this. And Peter says, we always have a choice. So I think you would appreciate that.
I mean, but the precision nut in me, the pedant.
A pedant is pedantic, or a pedant is pedantic.
One of them things.
One of those, mix and match to your taste.
I would say, you know, I didn't choose this. I would be done. Really? What'd you pick then? Because this is what we got.
Now just imagine Tobey Maguire saying that line in exactly that way. Completely emotionally incongruent to the rest of the scene. Really? Well, then what'd you pick then?
I totally can. Really? What'd you pick then? Because this is where we're at. This is what we got to deal with, dude.
So anyway, one more chapter is what we have to deal with, and then we can talk about the book and talk about your big secret that you've been keeping.
Yes, there's an article that I made you read.
Yes. You forced me at gunpoint to read it. So last chapter of the book, Helga is feeling the itch again. She wants to get out of here. She has realized that she has made some mistakes, made some foolish choices in her life.
In fairness, Andrew, I did ask.
I would never presume to lecture Dana on English.
That's not always true.
Well, there are certain things that I feel like I could go toe to toe with you on, but
anyway, go ahead. Finish, for the love of God.
For the love of God, let's finish the book. So anyway, she realizes that she's made a mistake, that she doesn't, want to be here anymore. She's completely over her marriage. It says the thought of her husband roused in her a deep and contemptuous hatred. Like, she's totally over the whole thing. The only thing she feels bad about is the kids, because she starts thinking about wanting to leave again. She wants to get out of here. But it says, of the children, Helga tried not to think. She wanted not to leave them if it were possible. And the reason she feels that way is because she had to do without her parents when she was a kid, and she doesn't want to leave her children because her parents left her. So it says, how then was she to escape from the oppression, the degradation that her life had become? It was so difficult. It was terribly difficult. It was almost hopeless. And so she kind of lays out for a while. She's like, well, I can't do anything about it now because I'm still recovering. I'm weak. I'm sick. But when I get better, then I'm going to start making a plan. I'm going to relax. I'm going to rest up. I'm going to get my strength back. And then I'm going to figure out some way to get out of here. And that's my plan. Like, that's what I'm doing from now on. I'm going to rest up and then figure out a way to get out of here. And then the chapter and the book ends with this. And hardly had she left her bed and become able to walk again without pain, hardly had the children returned from the homes of the neighbors, when she began to have her fifth child. The end. So yeah, she's trapped. And what I like about that ending, what I like about this whole, what I appreciate artistically about how Helga ends up, is that it is presented, and obviously Larson wasn't doing this intentionally because this was several decades before this existed, but it's presented like the bleak twist ending of a Twilight Zone episode. Because the place where she is trapped is she's married and has kids. That's her nightmare scenario. And that's sort of like her penance, her punishment for the life that she has led up to this point, is that, and her fickleness and the way she treats people and the way she's never happy with anything. She ends up trapped in this life, trapped in her idea of hell, and her idea of hell is to be a wife and a mother, and to be a wife and a mother in a community where she's expected to keep having kids until she just can't do it anymore. And just live with the exhaustion and everything else that comes with it. So the twist ending, the bleak twist Twilight Zone ending of the book is, oh, she's trapped in this life, being a wife and a mom, and there's nothing she can do about it. And I appreciate something that mundane, and also that, something that in the minds of a lot of people, something that is cherished. That's like the life you're supposed to have. Those are the things you're supposed to take joy in. And obviously you don't have to, and a lot of people don't, and that's fine. But that's what you're raised to think is the ideal. Oh, to get married and have kids. Like that's the deal. That's the whole point. And for Helga, that's the worst thing that could possibly happen to her. And she cannot escape.
I question that though.
Go ahead.
I don't think it's the worst thing that it's the worst thing that could possibly happen to her, because she doesn't like it, and that's where she is.
That's a good point. Yeah,
wherever she is, if she doesn't like it, that's the worst. And the idea that she can't just leave this is also the worst. But that would have been the same thing in Naxos if she couldn't have left. Like if she needed that job, she didn't have a way to save up money and get out of Naxos. If she was trapped in her job, or if she was trapped in Harlem, or if she was trapped in Denmark, if she was, not able to do whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted, oh, that would just be so awful.
That's a really good point. Like maybe the thing that makes her fate at the end of the book so terrible isn't, I mean, obviously specifically there are things about it she doesn't like. She doesn't like her husband. She doesn't like her life at that point.
She picked him.
Yeah, she sure did. She doesn't like, there are things about that life specifically that she doesn't like, but I think maybe now that you've said that, I think maybe you're right. The worst part of it for her is that it's the first situation we have seen her in during the book where she doesn't have the option to just pick up and leave. Like she's stuck there because she's married and she has kids, and it's, I guess it would be more complicated to leave a marriage because she can't just up and leave. And also she doesn't want to leave the kids. I mean, I guess
also she doesn't have a way to stop having kids.
Right. Because there's no such thing as birth control. What? Are you crazy? So that's the book. And like I said, I think I ended up liking it more than you did. I wouldn't say I'm not going to put it like on my favorite books list or anything. I didn't think it was like, a life-changing, wonderful masterpiece of a read, but I thought it never lost me. Like I don't think I ever got to the point where I was like, or like you were, where I was like, okay, if I weren't doing this for a show, I wouldn't finish this. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel like you got there about halfway through the book where you were like, if we weren't doing a show about this, I just would not read this anymore.
No, I think I was there much before that, actually.
Even before that.
Like I said, I'm a quitter when it comes to reading. I'm totally a quitter. If I don't have a reason that I need to get something read, I will say I don't think it was as painful as some of the one. Probably the gosh, I don't even remember which one I picked out for when we had family book group, and I was just like professional, like, guys, I'm so sorry. This book is very highly regarded. It's literature, and magical realism. It sounded great and interesting, and then it just weird, confusing, miserable. It was like this. It was worse. Pretty confident that it was worse read. But at the same time, like the language is intriguing. A few of the characters are intriguing. Helga is just, I'm tired of spending time with her. I've been tired of spending time with her. I'm so glad we're done spending time with her. On the other hand, you like Gatsby.
That's
I
true.
never liked any of them neither. So,
Um, I mean, Helga is a frustrating character, but I think she's more frustrating if you look at her as though she is a real person. She's incredibly frustrating. She's maddening. She's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why do you keep doing this? You know, as a literary character, there's more, at least for me anyway, there's more of a detachment. So it's like, you know, she's frustrating, but you sort of get a sense of what her motivations are and why she is the way she is. Not that that absolves her of any of her sins, but it sort of adds context. And so I don't find myself disliking her as a
I don't
character.
understand that because, like, you can do the same thing with a real person. So I don't understand why that makes a literary character more interesting than a real person. I don't get that.
You don't get why it's
So you're
different
saying,
yeah, go ahead.
okay, so you're saying that analyzing her, that I have issues with her because she's frustrating,
Yeah,
and annoying and repetitive, and that a real person would be frustrating and annoying and repetitive. But that as a literary character, you can understand her motivations, and that makes her more interesting. I'm saying you can do the same thing with a real person. You can understand their motivations, and they can still be frustrating and annoying. So,
for sure.
understanding her motivations does not stop her from being frustrating and annoying.
Okay, well, for you, for me, but the other thing is, it's a lot.
That's really interesting because, like with Trump voters,
Right.
they're frustrating and annoying.
Yeah. And but here's a couple of differences for me, at least.
Okay.
The first difference is it's way easier to come to understand the background and motivations, etc., of fictional characters because you're reading a book about them. Like, it's all right there on the page. You know, you don't have.
It's not.
Well, everything
if you're reading literature, it's not right there on the page.
Well, everything.
You have to analyze and infer.
Everything that's important,
just like with real people, Steve. Just like with real people.
Everything that is important to the story is either there in the page spelled out for you, or is in there for you to infer. You know, like it's in there somewhere. If it's important for the character in the story, I'm not saying that you get a full biography of every character in every story,
right?
But you know enough about them through the context of the story, you know, that you can come to understand something about them. Whereas a real person, you have to actually
have to talk to them.
You have to actually take the time to get to know them. And if they're a piece of shit, I'm sorry, life's too short. And the other thing is,
that's how I felt about this book.
Okay, fair enough.
I had to take the time
to
get to know this.
Fair enough. And, oh my God, 255 AD, if you think Dana is unempathetic, I would bulldoze every Trump voter into the Grand Canyon and sleep like a baby.
I'm incredibly unempathetic with fictional characters.
I have zero empathy for that. I have way more empathy for the fictional character of Helga than I have for any real life Trump voter.
See, I think that's something that's really different. She's fictional. Yes, you could get me to care about her, but if you make me not want to care about her, or if you make her annoying, then there are enough people, real people. I'm going to spend my energy trying to get to know real people and trying to get to understand real people, not fictional people. Screw her.
That is interesting because we come at that from the opposite direction. Because my feeling about it is
that's exactly what I was saying.
I know, I know, but I'm going to elaborate from my point of view. I know that's it's. Because
share your thoughts, Steve.
Because she is a fictional character, I am more tolerant of her negative qualities and her eccentricities and her frustrating traits because she's a fictional character. She's not actually hurting anybody. A Trump voter, since that's, you know, the example, a Trump voter is actively making the real world worse, right? They're hurting real people in the real world. They're making our real society that we all have to live in shittier and shittier and shittier. Helga's not doing that. Helga's just a made up person in a made up story. And she might be a horrible, shitty person that if you knew her in real life, you'd be like, oh, Jesus, I just don't know if I can go to a party if Helga's going to be there. Right. But you don't have to worry about that. She's a make pretend person. It's the real people who can cause real damage that I'm like, no, you know what? I'm not going to waste time trying to understand where you're coming from. Stop being a piece of shit. So yeah.
But at the same time, if I put the book aside, so what? Whereas if I have the opportunity to, even if it's the people at the people who spoke to my class, the local leadership panel,
yes,
wouldn't be surprised, given that they were elected, if they were all Republicans, because
I kind of assume they were.
Yeah,
given the demographics, yeah.
But they are acting in what they believe is the best interests of the community, and sometimes those ways differ. And the guy who got there first, and we were talking about jobs and just the situation in the county, and he said that he has, as somebody who works at the county level, not the city level, he had been working towards understanding what the businesses are trying to accomplish, why where they're thinking about going and why they want to leave, And he said that, they were saying, we're raising our wages and we're still having trouble getting workers. And he said, okay, well, that's interesting. You're saying you're raising your wages. And he's talking to the business owners. You're raising your wages and you're running a factory here. You create products that people use. They make ovens in this particular instance. Another nearby factory makes carpet, things that the people use. Maybe the people don't, we could cook over fires and we could have dirt floors. We don't need them, but useful products, meaningful things. And yet you're still having trouble getting workers. He asked them, would you want your kids to work in the factory? And they got quiet. And so I don't think it's just as cut and dried as a person is a Republican or is a Democrat or is a conservative or is a liberal or is a leftist. There's more to it than that. And there is, there are many issues, and people can have more conservative-ish beliefs on some and more liberal-ish beliefs on others. So taking an opportunity both to listen as well as to let this person see that you, as somebody who, is significantly more liberal than they are willing to listen and, connect with them. That takes some of the, those liberals that they just hate everybody who doesn't think like them. And those slow, small changes over time, that's what lasts. And I'm not even sorry. That's borne out by research. I want to push for I want big change, but I know that the way to make big change happen is gradually so that it lasts.
Oh no, we're on the same page as far as that goes. I am very much an incrementalist.
Yeah.
I'm not a revolutionary. I don't think we should just, let's tear it all down and build up something new and we'll just do it all in one fell swoop,
But I guess my point is there are different kinds of Trump voters, just like, liberals and leftists. No group is going to be a monolith.
Sure. Absolutely. There are liberals and leftists that I find endlessly frustrating, that I have to remind myself, they're on my side. I shouldn't go after them as hard as I might emotionally want to.
Like me.
Oh no, I've never felt that way about you, but you know, like really ardently pro-gun leftists, like people who are like, we should arm the homeless and we should arm the poor, and we, you know, it's like, oh my God, fuck you. You make me so embarrassed to be on your side when there's like 40,000 gun deaths a year in this country, and you're like, what we need to do is arm more people. Fuck you, you fucking idiot. But you know, I don't make videos about that or go after that because I genuinely, even though that is my feeling, I also genuinely believe those people to be far less of a threat than the far right gun nuts. You know,
which is why you would never make a video entitled "Should We Arm the Homeless?"
Well, that's just it's just a dumb suggestion.
Saying.
It's just a dumb suggestion, and anybody who sincerely makes it is dumb. But
don't hold back. Tell us how you really feel.
Come on. I'm telling you, when it comes to gun policy, I am fucking MacGyver. I want to get rid of them. I don't want to put them into other people's hands.
I'm so glad, because I was like, wait, you want to get rid of MacGyver?
No, I want to keep MacGyver. God, at all costs, keep MacGyver.
It took me a minute.
No, but anyway, so that's the end of the book. I want to talk about this essay. I want to talk about this essay before we wrap up.
Tell me what you think about the essay. So, folks, as it turns out, important parts of the novel are plagiarized.
Yes. So now, and apparently this is something that not just this novel, but in other works of Nella Larsen, there's evidence of plagiarism as well. So it's not as, speaking of things like, you know, cut and dry, like it's not as cut and dry as, oh, she was a plagiarist, therefore her work has no value. Even the author of this paper, and by the way, we're talking about an article that Dana found by Erica Renee Williams called "A Lie of Omission: Plagiarism in Nella Larsen's Quicksand," and it was published in the journal African American Review in 2012. And even the author of this paper doesn't say that, you know, it's worth discarding Larsen's work, like that her work is still important and deserves to be considered. Yeah. But you can't get, you know, judging by the evidence presented in this paper, like you can't get away from the fact that she plagiarized certain passages for her, you know, and one of the big ones is the opening passage of Quicksand. And it's quoted in the paper. You get the it was plagiarized from a John Galsworthy short story called "The First and the Last," and you get the Galsworthy passage, and then you get the opening of Quicksand. And yeah, the similarities are such that it's pretty much impossible to deny that she read Galsworthy's piece first, and then she adapted it very lightly. I mean, it's not exactly word for word, but sentence structure, you know, phrases. There's a lot of it where it's clear that she just switched words. She sort of it reminded me a little bit of like a high school English student.
That's exactly what I was thinking. They do what I call Lego bricking.
Exactly. Yes. When you explain to them what it means to paraphrase somebody, and then you say, you know, you put it in your own words, and Lego. I've never heard that.
How many words do I have to change?
Yeah,
that's what they want to know. Like I have a video about this. I'm almost certain I have. This is one of my videos. It's about plagiarism and paraphrasing, and how many words do I have to change is one of the things that I talk about. And it's like that's not how this works.
Yeah. You're supposed to write.
It doesn't work that way.
You're supposed to write it from scratch on your own, but just express the same idea in your words. You're not supposed to just put in a couple of synonyms in the same basic sentence.
You're not even supposed to do that. Like, if you paraphrase, you also have to give credit to what you're paraphrasing from.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Anybody who's ever written a research paper knows that, like, even if you aren't, if you are not directly quoting someone word for word, but you are still taking their idea and putting it in your own words, you still need to put the citation. You can't just, say, oh, I wrote my own.
Yeah, well, in a citation in an academic paper, but I mean, this is not, and that I actually emailed the author today to say essentially thank you so much for writing this. And I really enjoyed the way she talked about this. First of all, I loved the way that she sounds almost reluctant.
Yes. Because you can tell she admires Larson's work.
Yes,
Yeah.
and she's like, I don't want people to think like that it's not a good book or that she wasn't like important, incredibly influential. But we need to be honest about this. I mean, it's really, especially right now, like with all the the focus on, well, we can't take down, we shouldn't take down statues to Confederate leaders, and the way that that it's bad to to look at Christopher Columbus like he wasn't a hero, or that our founding fathers weren't heroes, not to that we don't glorify them, or when we focus on the problems that they had and their flaws, that somehow we are that's bad for history. No, being honest is the better way to look at things, and that doesn't mean that these aren't people who had great influence or accomplished important things. People are complex.
Right.
People are complex. Period. That's it. That's the sentence.
That's the take-home message. Yeah. Well, and even the issue of plagiarism is complex, because a lot of this paper is taken up with discussing some of the defenses that people have offered of Larson, because one of the things that people who have tried to sort of salvage her from these accusations of plagiarism have argued is that it was she's doing kind of like pastiche, like she's intentionally emulating these other works in a way to sort of comment on them or rephrase them or repurpose them for but
yeah,
it's not,
fair use, essentially, that it's commentary, or artistic, restyling.
Right, but the key factor there that is absent in the way that Larson does it is the reader needs to be aware that that is what is happening.
I want the credit.
Exactly. Quote.
She doesn't give credit.
She doesn't give credit, and not only does she not give credit to the author that she's borrowing from, she also doesn't give any indication that that is what she's doing.
Yes.
There's every indication when you read the text that she intends to pass that off as 100% her own work. There's no indication that, because like, if you write a story, if you are doing something that you intend to be a pastiche, either directly through like a note or indirectly through just the thing that you are referencing or the way you present the story, like you make it known to the audience that that is what you're doing. The audience has to be aware that you are riffing on a pre-existing work. In whatever way you make them aware of it, the audience needs to be aware of it, because otherwise it just doesn't work. And like the big difference between being a plagiarist and paying homage to something or writing a pastiche of something is that when you are paying homage or writing a pastiche, you as the author of that are open about the fact that that's what you're doing. And if you're not, if you are trying to conceal that, or at least if it appears as though you are trying to conceal that, that's the difference between that sort of thing and plagiarism. And that it seems like that's what Larson is doing. She's plagiarizing. She's not trying to pay tribute or to repurpose or to sample or whatever. She's stealing.
And so yeah, thinking about like fan fiction and remixes and homages, what comes to mind for me, of course, is Galaxy Quest. I mean, because you also think about the reboots, like the Spider-Man reboots, the Spider-Man reboots, which are really obvious because they use the title and literally the same characters.
Right.
But like Galaxy Quest is a little bit more ambiguous. It doesn't mention Star Trek, like at all, but it's so obviously a reference to Star Trek.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Galaxy Quest is a really good example.
So that's more of an example of, but additionally, it's also completely original content. Like it references it, but again, indirectly. It doesn't just take an episode of Star Trek or a movie that is Star Trek and like rename the characters and like, rephrase the dialogue. It does much more than that. It tells its own story. It creates its own characters that have similarities to and that are used to comment on what happened, between, some of the events of the story, as well as, some of the, the actors and things like that. So yeah, it's really interesting to think about what makes it plagiarism, as well as the fact that it's different, to think about how this is different from academic plagiarism. Because I know we've talked about this before, because I know I've talked with you on some live stream. We were talking about plagiarism. I was talking about the guy who, like, maybe it was just when I was working on my script for the plagiarism video. The guy who changed his freaking name.
Yes.
I don't remember anything more about that, but like he falsified. No, I don't think he plagiarized. He falsified his research.
Falsified. It was a false study or something that he published. Yeah.
Yeah, and like he had all this study information, and nobody could replicate his study. And so one person who had been trying to replicate his study contacted the data center that he said had taken his data and analyzed it for him. And they're like, for who? They didn't know what this other guy was talking about. It turned out he never turned this data over because it didn't exist. So which is what they found out when they continued to try to follow up. So it's really interesting to think about the differences, the different types of dishonesty in publication and information and creativity.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, a lot of it in this case, and this is another point that is made in this paper, a lot of it comes down to the fact that she was plagiarizing works that were probably not going to be known by her audience. Like, if you wrote something that was riffing on Hamlet, right? You probably, I mean, depending on what your goals were and what you were trying to accomplish as a writer, like you wouldn't need to put a note at the beginning saying, okay, everybody, just so we're all on the same page, this is a riff on Hamlet. Like, Hamlet is broadly known well. You could have a reasonable expectation that people would get it.
To the extent that I don't think, I think it goes further than that. Like, I don't think The Lion King is actually supposed to be Disney's Hamlet, with animals. But people see it that way. They see connections that aren't necessarily there.
And
so
that's,
if you have connections, you darn well better acknowledge them, because people are going to friggin' find out.
And that's even another level of it, which is there is also a difference between something like a pastiche and something that just has parallels. Because you're right, I don't think The Lion King qualifies as like
Disney's version of Hamlet with
lions. Yeah. Like, I don't think that's it. But yes, there are parallels in the story. There, like, how many stories, especially like heroic stories, are there with biblical themes, with a Christ metaphor, with, I mean, that they're not all,
or dead parents, let's be honest.
They're not all adaptations of the Gospels, even though they have Christ-like themes and metaphors in there. Because there's parallels that aren't necessarily plagiarism or homage or pastiche or something like that. The example I was going to give is Nicholas Meyer, who is best known to most people as the director of the best Star Trek movies. Is also really super into Sherlock Holmes, and he wrote and directed a Sherlock Holmes movie called the 7% Solution back in the late 70s, I think. And he's written a couple of Sherlock Holmes novels that are pastiches of Conan Doyle. Like, they're written in the exact same style as Conan Doyle would have written one of his original Sherlock Holmes stories. And you can get away with that without being accused of plagiarism, because everybody knows Sherlock Holmes. And when someone in the 1970s publishes a Sherlock Holmes novel in the same sort of linguistic style as one of the novels or stories from the Holmes canon, we all know what's going on. Like, nobody thinks Nicholas Meyer, he didn't create Sherlock Holmes, this isn't his character. Like, nobody thinks that. We know what's going on because we have a pre-existing familiarity with the character.
And especially since you reference, he uses, like, the character.
Yeah.
He names the character. It would be more like if somebody took Hound of the Baskervilles,
Yeah, and wrote,
and like
yeah,
followed, pulled some of the phrasings and things like that, or some of the very specific plot twists, and didn't, for whatever reason, reference or thought that people wouldn't recognize that it was Sherlock freaking Holmes.
right. Yeah, I
And
think
and
it's, yeah,
and then there's the other issue of Sherlock Holmes is now in the public domain,
that's true for the
and
most
she
part.
was pulling from her contemporaries.
Yes, yes, yes. That's,
So that raises, another question about that. If somebody did that with Sherlock Holmes, would it be okay because, or would it be seen as more okay because it's Sherlock Holmes and everybody knows Sherlock Holmes, so you're supposed to get it, or, would it not be? And does the fact that it's in the public domain, does that matter?
I think
Um,
I think in that case it would at least be easier for someone to make the defense for themselves or for someone else to defend them with the arguments that we see discussed in the essay that were made in Larson's defense, where people tried to say, like, that it wasn't plagiarism, that it was her, homage or, reinterpreting or whatever. Like, it would be easier to make that argument if you could say, oh, but everybody's read Hound of the Baskervilles. I didn't expect people to think that that was me. I was making a reference, or I was,
And I think also the plug and play nature of it, the Legoizing of it, is important because there's also the pretty widely accepted view that 50 Shades of Grey is Twilight fanfic with the serial numbers filed off.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, just based on, but that's not based on the phrasing or the linguistic style,
it's
so
based
much
on the
as
characters.
it is based on the characterization and the plot structure.
Yeah.
So that's also,
Well, and that's
yeah.
why to
255 AD, I think we kind of got to the same
we
point
got to the
about
same
the same time, and there's just a little bit of lag.
But to bring up
and then to hang on, but to address your earlier question, no, not until they're better than Data, because I think that's probably something that Data should, especially if honestly, contractions should be easier than paraphrasing. Contractions ought to be easy. Contractions, he ought to be able to freaking use contractions. They're just different words. It is a legitimate part of grammar. So
the fact that Data can't use contractions is just a contrivance. I mean, there's no,
exactly.
It's just one of the things you just have to accept because it's just the way it is. Like, there's no reason.
Well, it's something that is supposed to help to reinforce the idea that he is an android.
Yeah,
which I totally understand. But
sure.
It's baloney.
There are reasons for it that just don't have anything to do with the real world or the fictional world that you're like, if it was
real, internally inconsistent. You know how I am about internal inconsistency, and I will accept it. But I will say that's baloney. It should be way easier for him to use contractions than it should be for him to paraphrase. So we got to get past Data. We're going to have
an AI that can paraphrase better than Data, then we might be somewhere. But I was going to say, just in terms of fan fiction, I think fan fiction, as long as you're not like, it's a 50 Shades of Grey situation where the author isn't like plagiarizing the text of a Twilight novel. They're taking pre-existing characters and writing their own story, and that originally, and then eventually when she wanted to publish it, she, like you said, filed the serial numbers off, changed the character names, and changed some things about it.
No, I mean, she didn't write her own story either. Like the narrative structure follows Twilight as well. It's just, instead of being like powerful because they're vampires and werewolves, they're powerful because they're really, 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 really rich.
Yeah,
the narrative structure is the same as well.
See, I didn't know that. I wasn't even aware of that. It's even more of a ripoff than people said it was.
Yeah.
But the idea of, like, if because we've both done this many times, if we write like a Batman story, as long as we're not copying it from someone else's Batman story and trying to pass that off as our own original work. The only issue with it is a copyright issue, because someone else owns the intellectual property. So you can't make up your own Batman story and sell it. You would have to sell it to DC Comics if you wanted to make money on it. You couldn't just sell it for yourself because of the intellectual property, but it wouldn't be plagiarism.
Right. And I think that gets down to sort of what the nature of plagiarism is. And I think also, we're talking about the grammatical structure the phrasing, sometimes the vocabulary,
Yeah.
the turns of phrase that are unique. Um, and I think, I mean, for me, that's usually what I want to change. I want to rely on pulling from the themes and the basic character, the underlying character elements, and I want to say, yeah, except this way. The whole, my whole thing about, Damian Wayne shouldn't exist. Yeah. Batman doesn't oops. He doesn't, Batman doesn't use the pullout.
He's not the pullout king. He's the Dark Knight. He's not the pullout king.
Yeah. I mean, we think Superman's called the Boy Scout because, like, he's justice and honor and all that good stuff, and, doing the right thing. Batman's the Boy Scout because he's always prepared. Okay, always.
That's a good point. Batman's a Boy Scout too.
Belt, it's got useful stuff in it. All right. 255 AD. Yeah, that was something that we were also thinking about. It was not a reference that people knew, but part of it, I don't know. Like, part of it is, and I guess I'm thinking like a fanfic author at this point. Part of it is that there's a community that does know. Right. If you just fall, I can't get my mind around it. Like, you're just like, this is so cool. I gotta do something like this. But, like, there are other people. I don't know. Like, I don't understand the desire to mimic another work unless it is to connect with other people who also like that. It's like, yeah, I like this too. Isn't that cool? Like, I can't. I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around it.
Yeah. And yeah, I do think it's if Sherlock Holmes was an obscure book that nobody had heard of, like, I do think that would change it. If you were trying to pass it off as your own work, But
also, I don't think that would work because of the changes in style.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
If it was an obscure book from the 19th century and you're mimicking that style, you ain't gonna get published today.
That's true.
People are like, can you, like, change everything?
Yeah.
Like, change the book.
Like, instead of
just start over, please.
Instead of a buggy, can he have a car?
No, but see, that's something that you would change. And then, but the style of the diction, all of that would, like, essentially what she didn't change, the diction, the grammatical structure, that's what would have to go.
Yeah.
Like, she changed it from, like, a buggy to a car or
but she kept
sorts of changes.
Yeah, but she kept the essential.
But no, the diction would be different. Like, if you wrote it in Nella Larson style today.
Yeah.
That's not, I mean, that wouldn't sell for popular fiction, and it's not really going to sell for literary fiction because that's not, that's not what artists and writers are doing to explore the craft as far as what counts as a story and what makes something a novel and what makes for, character development. How much do characters have to develop? How much conflict does there need to be? What counts as conflict? All those sorts of things. The development of magical realism and, what were we talking about with, I can't use that, Miracle on 34th Street. The ending of Miracle on 34th Street, which everyone's assuming is one way, and you're going to say it's a different way.
Yeah, we can talk about it. You can spoil my video.
I don't want to spoil it.
Well, I talked about it on the podcast that came out today.
Okay.
It's the same basic. I go into it in more detail in the video I'm making for Monday, but yeah, I mean, my interpretation.
People assume that it's magical realism.
Yeah,
and your argument is that it's not.
It's not at all.
It's just not.
My big argument with Miracle on 34th Street, that where I disagree with, I guess, people who who remember it from when they saw it when they were kids and just sort of think of it in that way is. Kris Kringle, the old man in Miracle on 34th Street, is not Santa Claus. Period.
He's just senile.
He's an old man with a delusion that thinks he is and to me, like, if that otherwise there's no point to the movie. Like, and the movie never tells us never gives us any reason to suspect that he's really Santa Claus. The whole point of the movie is he's an old man who thinks he's Santa Claus. He's not Santa
And he's
Claus.
not.
He's not. And yet he
The miracle is us.
And yet he wins a court case where he gets legally declared Santa Claus. Like there's no point to that if he's really Santa Claus. Like the whole point of it is he's not Santa Claus. And he wins a court case that says he is Santa Claus. And yes, the miracle is the miracle is in the way we treat each other. Like that's, it's not magic. It's doing nice things for other people. Like that's the magic.
Or it is magic, because doing nice things for other people is magic.
Yeah, exactly. But like a real life magic, not like.
Yeah, that's actually one of my that's going to be one of my videos is what magic is, and the fact that it really does exist, and it's not what people think it is.
Yeah, it's actually reminiscent of my. I'll make this point and then we can start to wrap up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. We keep droning.
No,
on
it's
about
okay.
you.
I mean, my foot. It's only 7. It's not yet 7:30.
I know, but you said your foot was bothering you
goes.
and you wanted to keep it relatively short. So, but my science teacher in middle school used to say that he believed in Santa Claus. And this is a guy, when I had him as a teacher, he was like in his 50s, right? And he would say, I believe in Santa Claus. And we would always ask, like, how can you believe in Santa Claus? And his name was Mr. Shives. No relation, but his name was Mr. Shives. And we would always say, like, how can you believe in Santa Claus? And his response was basically to appeal to how people are nicer to each other during the holidays. So he was basically saying that he didn't believe. He's
never been in front of a Walmart door on Black Friday.
Obviously there are exceptions. Yes, of course. And I do think a lot of that is overstated, but he was basically saying, he didn't believe that there was a literal, guy in a red suit who lived at the North Pole and delivered presents every year. He believed in Santa Claus in the sense of what Santa Claus represents, or the good parts of what Santa represents, the idea of hope and charity and generosity, like that sort of thing.
So he believes in Stuffy.
Exactly. So, but yeah, and that's the kind of magic that I think is represented in Miracle on 34th Street. 255 AD, the remake implies that he is or that he isn't. I've only seen the remake like once and I despised it, so I haven't.
That may be part of why. Yeah. David C. Drake, I love that, by the way.
Yeah, that's great. Say I recant. Now say I can't. I cannot. You fucking robot. You fucking frustrating.
Or better yet, okay, Data, lean. Now say, I can't. I can't. All right, now stand up. Now say, I can't. I cannot. I'm like ridiculously proud of myself for that one.
That's great. Oh my God. So anyway, that was our read through of Quicksand. And yeah, like we said earlier, there is no next book for the moment. We're going to take a break from Read Away for a while. But hopefully those of you who read along with us enjoyed it. And or if you didn't enjoy the book, at least enjoyed the experience of reading along with us and hearing us talk about it. 255 AD, then yeah, that would be a reason why I don't enjoy the remake. Well, no, so the remake is just the thing. What I remember of the remake is it was really sappy and sentimental in a way that the original just isn't. Like the original has some really heartwarming moments, but it's not like sappy and sentimental. It's actually really
cloying.
Kind of, yeah, it's not exactly. It's not cloying. It's actually kind of grounded, and cynical in some ways. Like it's not like a gushy, feel good holiday movie. Like it's not. It does make me feel good. Like it has some really wonderful life affirming messages, but it's not like that kind of sentimental.
It's not bashing you over the head with caramel.
Yeah. I think I just said what was wrong with the remake 255 AD. I think it's sentimental garbage.
All right.
But
so
anyway,
my foot hurts.
Yes.
So
charity links.
Charity links. Charity links.
Charitylinks.page. Check out the charity links. And by the way, I think Andrew has left us, but I will make a donation in his name for the super chat that he gave me earlier because he wanted to make a donation to one of the charity links. So thank you once again for that.
15 quid, buddy.
15 quid, all 15 going to the charity. And also don't forget that Dana, you have your own YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dana Coldares, where people can watch your videos. Yes, indeed.
And I had a video go up yesterday, so you know what you need to do, folks.
Leave a comment.
Except over on my channel.
Yeah, you can leave a comment on this too if you want, but just go over to Dana's channel and leave a comment on her video.
You just pick one. It doesn't even have to be the one that just went up. You just scroll through and be like,
just pick one at random.
It's that one.
That one.
And be like, hi Dana, how's it going? I'll be like, my leg is still freaking broken. It sucks.
Hey, I picked a random video. I'm commenting.
Yay!
Sweet.
Seriously. Makes me smile.
And we will be back on Wednesday to watch an episode of Hilda together.
Woo-hoo!
And and I have a video going up on the Miracle on 34th Street video that's going to go up on Monday, and Wednesday will be another Star Trek video, and then a week from tonight will be another. It'll be Christmas Eve Ask Away.
I know what my question's gonna be.
Oh boy.
Now I just have to remember it till Monday. Like that's gonna happen.
I'll try to remind you. But anyway, yeah.
Down. I'll get my notes out. See, look, I gotta have to turn the page because it's got all the notes on.
Look at all the notes.
I have the names of the elves, Steve. Benny, like Benny Goodman, Binky, Blurple, and her favorite, Boney.
Boney
yeah.
the elf. Hell yeah. But yeah, so that's next week, and hope you enjoyed Read Away, and we will be back to do another one at some point in the future. So hopefully you can come join us for that, whenever that is.
And I'm planning to do a live stream next year. So
yes, and believe me, when we get closer to that, I will promote the hell out of that for you, because I would love for people to come and join you for that. But that'll be sometime in January.
I'll be like, there's buttons I have to press, just like I press the buttons, and you'll be like, you have to press this button. I'm like, there's no button there.
And I can give you shit about it.
We think there's all kinds of weeks until I got a month.
We will practice. We'll have a couple of practice streams to get you up to speed. It'll be great.
Okay.
You're gonna do fine. By the time you're ready to go live for real, you'll have mastered it.
Yep. And I'll be like, nobody's here.
The secret is
talk to the camera.
It's not actually that difficult.
You always say that, and you're always wrong.
I would take issue with that characterization. But then again, you would say I was wrong then too. So
you know me so well.
All right.
I only say you're wrong when you are.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I would hope you wouldn't say I was wrong if you thought I was right, just to be an asshole about it.
Well, you know the rule. Only lie when it's
funny.
Exactly.
Or as Bart Simpson said, I only lied because it was the easiest way to get what I wanted. But you don't lie for that, only because it's funny. So, anyway.
Because honestly, usually it's not the easiest way to get what you want. Usually the easiest way to get what you want is just either ask somebody else to get it for you, or just go do it yourself.
Yeah.
My God. Exactly. Lying overcomplicates things.
It just gives you one more thing to worry about.
Not really worry about, but then you got to figure it's just work. You got to figure out a convincing lie and just.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it bothers me when my students lie to me because they're so bad at it.
Yeah, it's like dishonesty compounded by insult.
Yes, I'm like, what you're saying is, Mrs. Cole, I think you're stupid enough to believe this, or I think you have little enough integrity that you're just going to let it go.
You're just going to give me a pass on this one, yeah.
No, I'm going to call you out on your nonsense.
Oh.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you around. We'll see you Wednesday for Trek Reluctantly.
Woo!
All right. Bye, everybody.